Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I logged out and logged back in, so it seems to be working now.
Very
Good
good.
morning, gentlemen. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your service to our country. As the Air Force modernizes its platforms to meet the demands of future conflict, particularly the possibility of a contested logistics environment in the Indo-Pacific region, we must consider the evolution of our air mobility and other combat support functions in addition to our combat capabilities. Bottom line, without combat credible air mobility, we don't have a combat credible deterrent. General Brown, will you ensure that the Air Force addresses the gap in advanced air mobility capability suitable for distributed warfare in the Indo-Pacific? And when do you think the Air Force can deliver a plan for the future of air mobility beyond the C-130 to Congress?
Senator, you do have my commitment, and this is an area we are looking at, and particularly through the aspect of agility prime and other techniques to be able to do logistics under attack. That planning process is somewhat in its very early stages, and so I probably can't commit to you today on when we'd actually be able to present a plan to Congress. But what I'd like to be able to do is continue to work with you in this committee to work through a process to answer that particular question. Not only on the capability, but also the timeline of when we'd be able to provide some more information on a study and some other techniques and the technology to be able to look at how we do mobility, particularly in the Indo-Pacific.
Thank you. I'm going to take you up on that. Thank you very much. Modernization is critical, but it must be balanced against present-day readiness requirements that are necessary to respond to emerging crises. I'm actually pretty alarmed that the Air Force plans to continue C-130 divestment from the Guard and Reserve, yet has not created a plan to replace the C-130 itself. Eliminating enduring platforms without even beginning to design their replacement, I think, is a huge gamble. Is it wise to wager our National Guard and Reserve's operational capability and capacity and risk creating a huge gap that undermines our ability to respond to new emergencies? I mean, after all, over half the Air Force tactical and mobility airlift resides in the reserve components. I truly believe that C-130 divestiture will limit the Joint Forces' ability to meet the challenges outlined in the 2018 NDS and the Interim National Security Strategic Guidance, as well as the reserve component's ability to complete their domestic missions, which have only increased in recent years. That's why I feel that we must not divest the C-130 aircraft and our reserve components without first ensuring that we retain the critical airlift capability and capacity that gives our commanders the operational flexibility to respond when called, both overseas and here at home. While I understand that the Air Force has difficult decisions to make in how it manages its budget, and I understand about the increasing cost of maintaining old aircraft, I at one point flew with the oldest Black Hawk in the entire Army inventory, the fourth of the production line, so I understand the challenges of that. I have, however, heard from my TAG about how concerned he is that the Illinois National Guard will not be able to fulfill its duties to Illinois and to the country if there are further C-130 divestments without replacement platforms. And during his confirmation hearing, Mr. Kendall, the president's nominee to lead the Air Force, committed to working with governors and adjutants general of states with reserve component C-130 wings to ensure that they can fulfill their domestic missions and that the Air Force's divestment plans do not eliminate C-130 capacity that is needed to deliver the air mobility our nation has come to rely upon. General Brown, will you make the same commitment as Mr. Kendall?
Senator, I will. And matter of fact, one of the areas that I am focused on is every time I travel to any one of the states, one of my goals is to either meet with or communicate ahead or during the trip with the tags for each of the states to talk about where the Air Force is headed. So you do have my commitment.
Thank you. Another asset that is really important to our combat credibility are the KC-135s. And the Air Force plans to divest 18 KC-135s and 14 KC-10s tankers in FY year 22 to support the KC-46 program. This budget significantly reduces aerial refueling capacity. Could you please outline the risk we are accepting in the short term? And is the KC-46 program appropriately funded to accelerate its fueling to close this gap?
Well, one thing I will tell you about the KC-46 is that it does have the capability to do a good majority of missions, to include air refueling, aeromedical, as well as cargo movement. And so what we are working very closely with the United States CRANSCOM on is an interim capability release to provide the KC-46 for day-to-day mission taskings that will allow for it to be able to support the retirement of our KC-10s and KC-135s. And I've had great conversations with General Lyon most recently as about 6 weeks ago on this very topic. And we are both in agreement that the path we have right now in the KC-46 versus the KC-135 and KC-10 retirements are suitable to support his requirements.
Thank you. I'm out of time, but I would love to be updated on the Air Force's progress in fielding the KC-46 and to be provided early notification to myself and to the committee, actually, if any issues arise that may further delay the program or otherwise increase gaps in our overall aerial refueling capability or risk submission. And we can take this after the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.